What would happen if the Philippines, seemingly out of the blue, started to launch attacks? This provocative question invites us to delve into the realm of hypothetical scenarios, a crucial tool for understanding geopolitical strategies and military tactics. Let's be clear. This exploration does not endorse violence or war. It is purely speculative, an intellectual exercise designed to provoke thought and stimulate discussion. In the next few minutes, we will explore this hypothetical scenario and its potential consequences. Before we dive into the scenario, we need to understand the military capabilities of the Philippines. When we talk about military prowess, the Philippines may not be the first country that comes to mind. However, the Southeast Asian nation is far from defenseless. With over 125,000 active personnel, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, is a force to be reckoned with. Its military strength is divided into three main branches: the Philippine Army, the Philippine Navy, and the Philippine Air Force. Each branch has its own unique capabilities and specialties. The Philippine Army is the largest branch, boasting a wide array of ground forces. They're equipped with armored vehicles, artillery pieces, and small arms. The Navy, on the other hand, patrols the country's vast waters, protecting its territorial integrity with a fleet of frigates, patrol crafts, and auxiliary ships. The Air Force, although smaller in size, possesses an array of fighter jets and helicopters, ensuring air superiority. But it's not just about the numbers. The Philippines' geographical location provides it with certain advantages and disadvantages. Situated on an archipelago, the country has a strategic position in the South China Sea and the Pacific Ocean. This gives it control over crucial maritime routes and the ability to launch naval operations effectively. However, this geography also poses challenges. The country's wide archipelagic dispersion makes it difficult to defend its remote islands and vast coastlines. Furthermore, the Philippines' proximity to potential adversaries can be a double-edged sword, making it vulnerable to swift attacks. In terms of weaponry, the Philippines' arsenal may not be as advanced as some global powers, but its military hardware is constantly being modernized. Recent acquisitions include multi-role fighter aircraft, missile systems, and modern patrol vessels, bolstering the country's defense capabilities. So, while the Philippines may not be a military superpower, it certainly has the capacity to defend its sovereignty. It's a blend of determined personnel, strategic geography, and improving weaponry that makes up the Philippines' military strength. Now that we have an understanding of the Philippines' military capabilities, let's move on to our hypothetical scenario. Imagine a day like any other and suddenly the news comes in. The Philippines has launched an attack. A chill runs down your spine as you attempt to comprehend the gravity of the situation. In this hypothetical scenario, the initial targets of the Philippines might be its neighboring countries, possibly those with whom it has had territorial disputes in the past. The South China Sea, with all its geopolitical tensions, comes to mind. Considering the Philippines' geographic location, the initial attack could involve naval and air forces, possibly even cyber warfare. But what could be the reasons behind such an aggressive move by the Philippines? Maybe it's an attempt to assert its sovereignty over contested territories. Perhaps it's a desperate measure taken in response to economic or political pressures. Or it could even be a preemptive strike due to perceived threats from other nations. The immediate global reaction to such an event would be a mix of shock, confusion, and concern. The Philippines, known for its warm people and beautiful islands, suddenly turning into a belligerent force would be a jarring shift. The international community would scramble to understand the situation and the motivations behind the attack. World leaders would be on high alert, with emergency meetings and crisis talks being held. The United Nations Security Council would likely convene a special session to discuss the matter. Diplomats and ambassadors would be working round the clock, trying to defuse the situation and prevent it from escalating further. News channels and social media would be buzzing with updates, analysis, and speculation. There would be widespread uncertainty and fear as people grapple with the possible implications of this unprecedented event. In the background, military strategists around the world would be poring over maps and data, analyzing the Philippines' military capabilities, and planning their responses. There would be a heightened state of readiness in many nations, especially those in close proximity to the Philippines. An attack from the Philippines would certainly shock the world, but what happens next? As we move forward, we'll delve into the potential global response and the long-term consequences of such an event. So, stay tuned. In the wake of such an unexpected event, the world would be forced to respond. major powers would certainly not sit idly by. The United States, China, and Russia, nations with considerable influence on the global stage, would be compelled to take action. Let's start with the United States. Given its long-standing ties with the Philippines, the US would most likely seek a peaceful resolution. However, sanctions would not be off the table, especially if the situation escalated. The US has a history of leveraging economic pressure to de-escalate conflicts, and this instance would likely be no different. China, on the other hand, might take a different approach. Its relationship with the Philippines is complex, marked by territorial disputes and economic interdependence. While China would likely push for peace, it could also seize the opportunity to extend its influence in the region, perhaps even positioning itself as a mediator in the conflict. And then there's Russia. Historically less involved in this part of the world, Russia may see this as a chance to expand its geopolitical influence. It could leverage its ties with other Asian nations to navigate the situation, possibly even offering military support to the parties involved should it align with their national interests. But it's not just these major powers that would react. The United Nations, as the global peacekeeping entity, would certainly step in. With their broad mandate to maintain international peace and security, they would likely launch an immediate diplomatic response, possibly deploying peacekeepers to the region. And let's not forget about the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN. As a regional bloc, they would be directly impacted by the conflict and would likely push for quick resolution, potentially even leading peace talks. In short, the world would not stand by in silence. Actions would be taken, sanctions imposed, peacekeepers deployed, and diplomatic talks initiated. The global response would certainly be swift and potentially severe, but what about the long-term consequences? In the long run, an aggressive act by the Philippines could have far-reaching consequences. First, let's consider the potential for a prolonged conflict. A military aggression by the Philippines, a country not known for its military prowess, could lead to a long, drawn-out conflict. This could be due to the resilience of the opposing force or the involvement of multiple nations, each with their own interests and alliances. The longer the conflict, the more devastating the impact on the people, the environment, and the region as a whole. Next, let's talk about the economic and humanitarian crisis that could ensue. War, as we know, is costly. The financial burden of sustaining a military conflict would be enormous for the Philippines. And, not just in terms of military expenditure. The country's economy, heavily dependent on tourism and overseas workers' remittances, would likely take a significant hit. A prolonged conflict could also trigger a humanitarian crisis. Thousands, if not millions of people could be displaced, leading to a refugee crisis that the region and the world would have to grapple with. Finally, let's address how this could change the geopolitical landscape in Southeast Asia and beyond. An act of aggression by the Philippines could shift power dynamics in the region. It could force other Southeast Asian nations to reconsider their military strategies and alliances. It could also draw the attention of global powers, leading to increased foreign intervention in the region. The ripple effects of such a scenario would be felt far and wide. It could disrupt international relations, alter trade routes, and even change the course of history. So, while we hope such a scenario never plays out, it's important to understand the potential consequences of such actions. Not just for the Philippines, but for all of us. Because in our interconnected world, a conflict in one corner can have repercussions that echo around the globe. In the end, this hypothetical scenario serves as a reminder of the importance of diplomacy and peaceful resolution of conflicts. We can't stress enough that war, be it on a small or large scale, is a path that brings about destruction and loss. It's a path that we, as a global community, should strive to avoid. In the grand tapestry of international relations, peaceful dialogue and diplomacy are the golden threads that bind us together. These are the tools that help us navigate the complex and often turbulent waters of global politics. They foster understanding, bridge divides, and create opportunities for collaboration and mutual growth. We encourage you, not just as military enthusiasts, but as global citizens, to delve deeper into the intricacies of these matters. Learn about the delicate balance of power, the art of negotiation, and the strategies that keep peace intact despite the undercurrents of potential conflict. Remember, knowledge is power. The more we understand about the workings of our world, the better equipped we are to contribute to its betterment. And let's not forget, it's through understanding that we cultivate empathy, a quality that's essential in promoting peace and unity. So keep questioning, keep learning, And keep fostering a spirit of curiosity, because every bit of knowledge gained is a step towards a more peaceful world. Remember, understanding these hypothetical scenarios helps us appreciate the peace we enjoy today and underscores the importance of maintaining it for tomorrow.